our moderator, Ms. Monica Bhagwagar, armed with degrees in English literature, sociology, psychology, and an MPhil in English, and a diploma in advertising and PR. She has been in the leadership roles and editorial roles of Life and Time magazine, also been part of the ITC and Welcome Group. She is the founder of Paper Age and a founder member of V7 Care Foundation, an award-winning speaker and trainer and proud Femina power woman, also widely known as the Paper Tigress of Nagpur. Please welcome Ms. Monica Bhagwagar. Panelists for the afternoon, Ms. Riri G Trivedi, a PhD scholar, co-founder of Wellness Space, and a leading authority in regression therapy, inner child healing, and ACEs. She is a trauma-sensitive heart math practitioner and co-author of the Penguin title, This Book Won't Teach You About Parenting, which is available at the venue today. Mental health professionals. He is a psychiatrist and a chairperson of the Fortis National Mental Health Program and Adayu Mindfulness. Dr. Parikh has authored several books, led nationwide initiatives, and shaped policy level. Our third panelist, Dr. Rozina Rana, with more than 2 decades of experience. Her personal journey is a testament to extraordinary courage. After losing her 21-year-old daughter in a tragic accident, she chose to donate her daughter's organs, becoming a pioneering Muslim woman in her city and is inspiring many through this profound act of compassion. She went on to establish a foundation in her daughter's honor and social initiatives with 1,200 volunteers. At 54, she represented India at the Mrs. Earth pageant, symbolizing her transformative journey from grief to glory. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome all the panelists. Over to you, Monica, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody. A genuine, sincere request, please settle down. I don't want to hear you right now. You need to hear us right now. Yeah? You will have your time to question and hear yourselves at the end of the session. I'm thrilled to be on the panel with such internet celebrities. And of course, we are two of us, Rozina and myself are from Nagpur. So we are very proud to be sharing the stage with you all. So thank you so much for coming. Without much ado, I'd like to begin the questions because we have a time limitation and I would rather give the time to you all to ask questions because the guests today have a lot of pertinent, interesting, thought-provoking, inspiring, intriguing answers to your very important questions, I'm very, very sure. A lot of youngsters are here, which is very, very nice to see, because you will have questions for them. So please, while they are talking, make a note of what you would like to ask them at the end of the session. Now, I begin with the topic being given for this session is From Hurt to Healing, Childhood, Mental Health, and Finding Meaning After Loss. Have you all gone through the title before? That's why you are here, na? Not because the teacher sent you. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I will begin with Dr. Samir Parikh, and not as usual with the ladies first. Doctor, at the very outset, please elaborate on mental health and behavioral science. What does this really mean? When we were young, we only knew hurt, sadness, anger, and a little bit of occasional depression. We just moved on with our lives. But suddenly, everybody is talking about mental health. A lot of panels are discussing this. So why has it become suddenly so important now to discuss this?
No, my take on this is mental health was always important. Just because we've started talking a little bit more, and just a little bit. We've started talking a little bit more on some social media platforms. That still does not make it a conversation happening in as per it should be. So that's one aspect. I completed my education in psychiatry way back in 2000. I'm not sure how many people here were born then. So mental health is not a very new science. What happens is that every science goes through an evolution, right? Everything goes through an evolution. So let's say cardiac sciences had their own growth. There was diabetes which had its own, cancer care had. So like any other field, so did mental health. Since mental health transitions, once biological interventions were identified in early 1950s, that's when a lot speed happened. So in very simple words, first let me ask you a question and then I'll give you what is mental health. Can any one of you here define health without using mental health in the context? Possible hai? Can you define health without using mental health as a context? WHO की definition you would have, सबने पढ़ी है, right? All of you read. So क्या बोलते हैं उसमें? Health is? Correct. So उसमें क्या हो गया? Most words are about mental health. Yet when we talk about health, we don't come out of symptoms and body and all that. That's the importance of mental health. You don't need somebody to tell you about that. Now what is mental health? So mental health को अगर बहुत आसान, very easily if you want to understand, mental health is recognizing your strength. We all have different strengths. We are all unique people, right? Divya here is my colleague. She's a sports psych. I don't understand half of it. I'm a psychiatrist. I know how to look at symptoms, how to look at medications. I'm not a therapist. So everybody has different. I'm not a cardiologist. वो strength हो गया. I should be able to manage my day-to-day stresses. Rosemary, I mean, how is it possible not to have a bad day? In fact, how is it possible not to have a bad moment every hour? Anything can give that kind of difficulties. Daily hassle कहते हैं इसको. So I should have the coping skills to deal with regular stresses of life. I should not have an illness. I should be in a positive mindset that I should feel good. I should be able to be productive. And most important, I should be able to contribute to the community. If I have these aspects, that's mental health. So what does schooling do? Schooling tells us what am I good at, what I can become, how to be productive, how to develop skills to deal with life, how to be in a state of positive experience, and so that eventually I contribute to the community. That is mental health. So anything that contributes to community, anything that gives you a positive sense of living, there can be nothing more important than that. So mental health ke bina, if you take out the context of mental health out of any aspect of humankind's life, there is nothing. Simple as that.
Thank you for that insight, Doctor. I now ask Riri, is our present trauma or behavior linked with our experiences in our childhood or in our growing years? If so, how do we identify that and how do we deal with it, rectify it? I know it's a very wide spectrum, but whatever you like to answer.
It's the question that can take 8 hours of me explaining it. But in short, yes, there is almost 30 years of global research that without doubt proves that whatever you go through in your first 18 years of your life has a huge impact on your subsequent life, your relationships, your physical health, your mental health, your behaviors, your decisions, choices, etc. If those first 18 years are positive, good, empowering, you've grown up with adults who have made you feel safe, comfortable, who have built your self-confidence and self-worth, then there is a high likelihood that as an adult you will be very functional. But if as a child you've grown up in an environment that is full of unsafe feeling, domestic violence, you've been physically abused, you've been emotionally abused by, constantly comparing, nagging, criticizing, if you've gone through shameful, humiliating experiences from teachers, parents, if you've been through sexual abuse, or even if you've lived in a family where nobody really cared or bothered about your physical, emotional needs, then there is a high likelihood that you'll be more vulnerable to mental and physical health challenges, to addictions, to dysfunctional behaviors. I'm saying more likely because there is a correlation effect, not necessarily causation effect, right? So the likelihood multiplies. Since trauma is subjective, not everybody will break down with the same kind of trauma. There are some children who survive and thrive in spite and despite of trauma, and there are some who completely break down. So clearly the children who are emotionally resilient, or who even have one or two adults in their life who have been buffering adults, who have given them some positive experiences, who have listened to them, who have made them feel heard or validated, then there is a likelihood that such kids will be able to survive the abuse and the trauma with much more resilience versus children who have no such adults in their life. So children who grow up being completely isolated, emotionally disconnected from their parents, who grow up in environments which are violent, toxic, abusive, they might not develop emotional resilience if they don't have any single adult to buffer them or take care of them. So there is lots of research on it. I have done my doctoral studies in this area, and without doubt, there is an impact. What do you do about it? The first step is to recognize it, because most people say, जो चीज़ 20 साल पहले हो चुकी है, अभी इतने साल बाद उसका क्या असर है? मुझे तो याद भी नहीं है. Most people say, I don't even remember my childhood. If I don't remember it, how does it impact me? Right? However, your mind doesn't remember, but the body holds all the memories of all your experiences in the form of implicit memories, body memories, somatic memories. So they become your triggers. They become your, I would say the programs beneath the surface that guide your behaviors, your actions and decisions. What you can do about it is to recognize it. First, start by doing some self-regulation techniques, because the first thing that stress and trauma does is it dysregulates your nervous system. You grow up in a state of hypervigilance, fight and flight, or being completely numbed out or shut down. Both these are a dysregulated nervous system. So doing practices like humming, breathing, any practices that regulate your nervous system is the first step to first starting your healing journey. Then, of course, depending on the complexity of the trauma, you might need to take help from a trauma therapist, or just self-regulation might just do it for you. But even if your symptoms have started recently, like you might say, okay, I have anxiety since only 2 years. In between, there was nothing. So how do you explain that childhood se connection hai? But what happens is, whatever you go through in childhood, all of us have a threshold. We all try to, survive, cope up. And everybody's threshold is different. So somebody breaks down at 30, somebody breaks down at 50, somebody may not break down at all. Right? So even if in between you are fine, your anxieties come in at 40, doesn't mean it doesn't have a connection to what you went through in childhood. It only means in between you are surviving and coping up. So,
would you like to say
no,
something
I think
more?
that's...
All right. I now go on to Rozina Rana. Rozina experienced a profound personal loss when she lost a very young daughter in a road accident. And I want to iterate on that because you all are youngsters and you all are on vehicles, biking. Please be careful. A reckless driver took away a precious child. So all of you, I take this moment to bring this to your kind notice, yeah? So Rozina, it was a life-changing moment that would have broken anyone. And since I know you personally, I know how you just took I don't know how to even say it, I'm getting goosebumps. You just changed your life right all around. I just want to know, how did you handle that trauma? And of course, today what you are as a trainer, the person, a public figure, how did you go about this? And how do you, most important, how did you deal about losing a child, the loss of a child?
Yeah. Thank you, Monica. This question, if you had asked me 10 years ago, 10 साल हो गए, मेरी बेटी का accident हुआ. She was 21 then. 10 साल पहले, I was in depression. Nobody can imagine nobody's prepared for something like this. Loss of parents, loss of children, and daughter she was 21 then, and a good friend. You know how mother-daughter, they become friends. So I was completely shattered. I didn't know how to live my life. So I was completely numb, didn't know, suicidal tendencies, or suicidal thoughts. And that was the first phase of this whole trauma that I went through, where I was hardly breathing, I would say. Hours together, I used to just sit and gaze outside. Now, then the next phase came where I stood up and I started my work. I was training, counseling. I went for work. I did a lot of social work I was already doing. I put more into my social work and contribution to the society, and that started healing me. And that was second phase where I started surviving. And the third phase came where I saw myself and I had gained a lot of weight due to depression and not sleeping and overexerting into work. And then I looked at myself and I'm like, who is this person? Why did I become like this? And then I thought of doing something very challenging, and I went for beauty pageants at the age of 54. And I won some national and some international pageants. The whole purpose was to take care of myself, my health and everything. And then I started thriving also, coming back to life and bounced back with more energy. So sometimes the hurt takes you, the trauma takes you the rock bottom, I would say, and then you bounce back. When you bounce back, you come out with a lot of energy. लेकिन ये कहते हैं ना कि time is the best healer. I would say that's still not true. Because if you don't do anything in that time, then maybe the hurt may get deeper. So it's important to get up. And it's not easy, it's easier said. I took more than 1 year, 2 years almost. Being myself a psychologist, a trainer, I took good amount of time to come out. So it's not easy. Yeah, but there's always a sunrise every day. There's a new sun that comes out. So I would not say light at the end of the tunnel, but yes, there is always a new sun for everybody. So it's just matter of doing something about the hurt, the trauma, even if required professional help. And do not shy away from professional help. It is extremely important, all young people here, if there is anything that is bothering you, any kind of hurt, guilt, that you are not able to come out, not able to function, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. I had very loving family around. I had my lot of work, contribute to the society, and that's how you can really come out of any kind of guilt, trauma. If required, professional help is something that all of us will vouch for it. And thank you, Monica.
That is indeed an important point, which I also gathered from Riri's session yesterday, that there is no taboo to seek help. You know, the number of suicides that are going in the younger age group, it's saddening. There is no taboo, koi sharam ki baat nahi hai. Agar aap kisi se koi sahayata mange, ya you reach out and take counseling. You know, to be honest with you, for the longest time, I didn't know that my own young daughter was taking counseling. And later she told me, Mommy, you also need counseling, you also go. So that's a very important point. Thank you for sharing that with us. I now address Dr. Samir Parikh. This is a very, I don't know what to call this question. I would like you to elaborate the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist to our young listeners. And of course, you must share with us 5 good mental tips. For good mental health, 5 tips, please.
So the difference is simple. So the psychiatrists like me take the biological route. So we are medical experts. So I have done like any other medical expert. I have done my MBBS, and after MBBS I did my MD in psychiatry. So we'll essentially look at the biological component. Agar hum psychiatry, mental health ke causative aspects ko you look at it. So biopsychosocial. We talk about economic factors also now. Genetic as well. So biopsychosocial genetic ऐसे करके अगर हम समझ लें. So जो biological factors हैं, उन पर directly we intervene. So we identify what the concern is based on the evidence-based uh, guidelines. We'll look at both the diagnostic formulation and the treatment formulation. So that's what a psychiatrist does. On the other side, when I talked about psychosocial aspect as well, which is where psychological field comes in, where they work on whether it is experiences, cognition, behavior, relationships, stress coping, life skills, crisis, so many other aspects of life. And typically, psychiatry and psychology go together. So for most conditions, joint treatment is considered to be having most efficacy. Yes, in some you would not need psychological intervention, sometimes meds are enough. In some you would not need meds and only psychological intervention is enough. But for most conditions where there is moderate onwards impairment of functionality, then there is typically requiring of both ones. Now coming as far as the tips are concerned, देखिए मुझे क्या लगता है that what is it that we are doing different, right? Because the way time has changed. If I was to compare my schooling years, I actually feel I was born in a very good time. Pollution was less, for sure. Now I have an inhaler that I have to take twice a day, twice daily, and frankly there isn't a choice. It's our responsibility. आप इसमें कुछ कर नहीं सकते हैं. It's the world we've given you. We've messed it up for you. As simple as that. We did not have these gadgets, which is, you wake up in the morning, you typically see your phone, right? Rather than seeing the sun, the flowers, or something else, you'll just see a phone. I mean, what kind of a life would be there if you have to open and sleep to a phone? Or you would be missing on a notification and you'll be thinking, pata nahi kya hi ho gaya. And the truth is, nobody quite cares whether you've missed a notification or two. It won't quite matter to anyone. I think those two aspects have changed drastically. And what that has resulted into is the quality of relationships. A lot of times when you are, even with your friends, you sometimes are not there. You are more busy putting a status update that so-and-so at so-and-so place eating so-and-so things. Nobody's interested. Just be there, enjoy being with your friends. So you look at these aspects and put together, even in Divya, in my experience when we'd gone to the Paris Olympics, the one learning that I took from the Olympics, I still feel the Olympic Village was the most utopian place I have seen in my life, where people from all countries would just come together, cross each other, and everybody was a star there. I mean, you would cross a Nadal like anybody else, and you'd have a Neeraj Chopra just crossing by, and it's just quite remarkable. And everybody eating together, enjoying together, and you almost thought that, can we actually live like this? So much to learn from sports. So if my tips were, then one is meaningful relationships. I don't think this is other important life mein kuch. And meaningful relationships are not relationships where you वो text पे तो नहीं बन पाएंगे, और वो reactions and emoticons पे तो बिल्कुल नहीं बन पाएंगे. So one is meaningful relationships. Second aspect is, I think, having the kind of a zeal. This is your life. You want to do something, you will have to do it. Nobody's going to come and do it for you. So if you want to put in more hours or less hours, you want to do this or that, you have to decide. In the end of the day, this is your life, your aspiration, your success, your story. Everything is yours. So you will need to find that zeal and, put it out there. Third thing is, look at your lifestyle. Physical activity, sports, कुछ ना कुछ खेलें. ऐसे ही मेडल्स आते नहीं हैं, खेलना पड़ता है उसके लिए. 4 साल ओलंपिक्स आती है, ओलंपिक के 2 महीने पहले हम बात करनी शुरू कर देते हैं कितने मेडल आएंगे, अभी बात करो. अभी 3 साल बाद ओलंपिक्स हैं, अभी बात करो. So, but I think we should all indulge into sports. Look at a bit of healthy living. Look at the diet you're having. I feel there is so much of change. In my school days, in 11th, 12th, I would have a cold drink once a week on sports day, right? Once a week. And from there till now. Fourth aspect would be keep upgrading yourself. You have to keep upgrading. How do you upgrade yourself? Not only by padhai ek standard se dusra standard. Upgrading everything about you. Read more. Come out of the world of these short content. And also upgrade your literacy levels. और मुझे लगता है कि modern day times में the most important literacy is media literacy. आपको पता होना चाहिए कि if you are getting a message from someone on your social feed, is that person an expert or an idiot? Because idiots can say whatever they want. Experts are governed by science and rules and regulations and guidelines. And that's why sometimes when an idiot speaks, it's so fancy, so lovely. Yes, because I can't speak like that. I will say what is evidence-based. So just because it may be attractive and some stars are falling from here, some music is happening from there, some filters are being used here and there, doesn't make it better. So find media literacy. And last aspect is unmute yourself. बात करो. Unmute yourself. बात करो. बेवजह बात करो, सबसे बात करो, जिससे हो सके बात करो. Don't bottle it up. बात करो. So these are my 5 tips for you.
Thank you. I like that last bit, unmute yourselves. You know, we just have 10 minutes left and we have 2 more questions to go, so we will make it short and quick. But very quickly, how many of you consider yourself happy today? Just raise your hands, happy. I'm happy to see that. Okay. I'm going to take Rozina again, just short answers, because I would rather that they have more time to question you all. Your book of 21 day habit framework was born in the middle of the pandemic, a time of anxiety, isolation, and emotional exhaustion for students. How does structured and sustained habit building support mental health and long-term transformation? In simple English now.
Yes. My book, You Are Your Habits. Somebody told me this is a very, very strong title. You Are Your Habits. But I wanted to keep that title the way it was. Now, ये बुक की शुरुआत हुई पैंडेमिक टाइम पर, जब डिक्लेयर हुआ लॉकडाउन हो रहा है, and I was already into colleges training so many students, and lot of anxiety, lot of fear, uncertainty, numbness, ये सब कुछ था जो मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया था ऑलरेडी, और मुझे लगा कि यहाँ पर एक हेल्प की ज़रूरत है सारे स्टूडेंट्स को, all students of your age whom I was training at that time, and I invited them for a 21-day habit challenge. And a lot of them joined. I thought कि कुछ बच्चे आएंगे, लेकिन काफ़ी मैंने सोशल मीडिया पे डाला और कारवा, लोग जुड़ते गए, कारवा बनता गया. And then instead of all the anxiety, they got into focus. Every day, there was something that I gave them. And then there were a lot of success stories. So I gathered all those success stories, ये बच्चों का real stories, and I have put them here. Now, every day, like something like kick-ass. Sorry for using this word, but then kick-ass is a chapter. Like how you can just get up and get going. Simple. तो ये सारी stories मैंने इसमें with psychological concepts उसको अच्छे से बुना है. Now, anybody who will pick up this book of 21 days in 21 ways will get a lot of insights, anything that you are willing to do, achieve. Now, ये सारे बच्चे जो जिनकी stories मैंने ली है, they have self-doubt, they have some kind of addiction. ये सारे बच्चे, and these are real stories, and how they have come out of it. But let me tell you, it's not 21 days. It takes more than 21 days, of course, and they had attended many more cycles of 21 days with me. And then they requested me कि आप मैम इसको book में publish करो, and that's how this whole thing came together. So, like I'll use a छोटा सा metaphor कि अगर flight land करना है, जब flight land करती है तो पहले clouds होते हैं. Clouds को चीर कर flight, अगर रात का time है तो there are lights, runway पे lights होती है, beacon of lights. So वहाँ पर उसे पता है flight को कि मुझे exactly कहाँ land करना है. So that's how step by step you will get a guide कि how a mentor who will handhold you any mental health challenges. There are many things that I have talked about, and you can just land very, very nicely to your destination. And that is what the book promises you. So yeah, and you can order from Amazon. And these are the students' real stories. आप जब book पढ़ोगे आपको लगेगा ये मेरी बात हो रही है.
Thank you, Rosina.
Thank
That
you.
was explained beautifully. My last question, and then we will throw it open to the audience if you all have, young minds have any interesting questions. Riri, what would your advice be to the younger generation, our Gen Next?
Just 2, 3 things. One is, like Dr. rightly said, unmute yourselves, have conversations on emotions, feelings, not just achievements and, what have you done in your projects and what have you done in your awards, all of that. Have conversations not just with your peers, but with your parents and grandparents on emotions, feelings, their life. Right? So it will build connection. It will also help you understand and normalize conversations around mental health and emotions. Second, do not self-diagnose your mental health on AI and Google, because it can make you feel that you have all the possible issues at any given point of time. If I diagnose today, I will also be diagnosed with 3, 4 things over there at least. So do not do that. Do not use mental health labels loosely. Oh, I have anxiety today. Oh, I have trauma. So I said in the other room, and I'm again repeating it, that not all sadness is depression, not all stress is, or not all hurt is trauma, and not all, fear is anxiety. So please don't loosely use these labels to get away with certain behaviors. Don't use them as excuses and don't use them as a crown to show off. Because these are just labels, and they are labels given on a certain behavior that you are demonstrating at a point of time, and these can change if you change your behaviors. Brain has neuroplasticity, so at any given point of time when you decide to change your programs, your neural pathways, you can change the environment and your behavior, you can change those pathways, and those labels can drop. So do not use labels labelly. Thirdly, do not use information on childhood trauma to blame and shame your parents. Remember, your parents could themselves be victims of trauma. They may be wounded children who have become parents, right? They may be carrying their own fears, insecurities, traumas, and wounds that they don't even know of. Which is why, first point, have conversations, understand their feelings and emotions. And the last point is, in the time of social media and technology, please focus on human connections, because all the research we are doing today on people with suicide behaviors, self-harming behaviors, it all is coming down to loneliness, depression, and lack of social support. So please build your social connections, even if it comes at cost of studying an hour less, no problem. Whether you come first or second or third, in the marathon of life, what matters is how many friends you have when you are depressed, when you are not happy, when you are feeling like ending your life. That is when that one conversation can save you. So be that person for somebody also. And that doesn't have to be just your peer group. It could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a neighbor. If you are teachers, you can be those adults for children. So give a safe space and do not judge people. You don't know anybody's journey. Only if you are in their shoes do you know what they are going through, and you will never be in their shoes, right? So it is always good to be non-judgmental, have an open mind, and please focus on human connections. That's all, because social media has made the world very small, but it has increasingly grown the loneliness amongst you people, right? And the whole comparison, the whole social media comes with peer pressure, body image issues, likes, followers. It's a pressure, I'm on social media, I'm supposedly an influencer, but I have also taken a break. I'm sick of the clutter and the crowd that has come there, because it's just there's no limit now where it has gone. So be grounded, take out time with friends. Sports is a very, very good way to channelize your pain, your hurt, your trauma in a positive way. I have seen children who are doing sports somehow are more resilient. They learn to accept failures and defeats, right? So get into sports, do some hobby, have a hobby or a passion. All of this will help you become emotionally more resilient. That's all I would say. Anyway, this generation gets a lot of bhashan from social media, so just take it like
if not sports, if they are not able to pick up a particular sport, maybe just a walk. Just a walk amongst nature is so beautiful, and we have this gorgeous scenery hills, the lungs of Nagpur here. Okay, enough of us talking. Anybody has a question? Yes, would you like to give the mic there?
afternoon. You have already addressed this issue somewhat in your last closing, but I still wanted to ask it. As we have professionals on our panel, this is a question to all of you. We have people who have, we have Rosina ma'am who have converted their own trauma into a journey of healing and spreading happiness. We have parenting experts and we have professionals in the field of psychology. It is a lot popular, the terms, as ma'am said, the terms of depression, anxiety get thrown away everywhere. But on the other hand, Gen Z and my generation, our generation, are also the most emotionally intellectual people surviving on this planet. The recent comment of Twinkle Khanna on her talk show was that Gen Z is traumatized about everything and they don't have any real trauma. As someone, as we have people from parenting, people from psychology, and people who have suffered real trauma, what are your opinions on that comment, and what do you think that speaks about current mental health status of India overall?
I think what was said as a joke should be treated as a joke. Okay, I don't think we can say that, oh, today's Gen Z, everybody's traumatized. That's not true. I think it was probably just said to make people laugh, but it's not true. I do admit Gen Z is more informed, more aware, and I think a very, very smart generation simply because of even the information and the technology you have, which makes you more vulnerable to a lot of other things that we did not have access to. So we were not vulnerable to these things, right? But yes, trauma is real. I'm not saying, I mean, we should not say that it is not real. There are children, like what you said, children come to us for therapy saying, my parents will never ever approve of me taking therapy. They don't even believe I have anxiety, but ma'am, I've pitched money from my friends to come and take therapy. And these are parents who are professionals like architects or lawyers who are still not even accepting that my kid needs help for anxiety or depression. So I said, have conversations. In fact, I would like to say that this book now, it's not, I would say if you have parents who are able to read a book, please get this book for them, because this won't teach them parenting, but it will take them on a journey to understand their own selves, because only when they understand themselves and their struggles will they be able to understand you. They have been trained to normalize a lot of the things that your generation is not ready to normalize today. So that is the challenge.
Yes, ma'am. I totally agreed when you said that parents are probably the kids who could not process their trauma.
And they were told there is nothing like trauma. Like you know, if you're crying, they'll say, don't cry, go out and do some work. So this is what we've grown up with, right? So you can't blame your parents, but you can bring the change. As Gen Z, I would say, have these conversations, educate your parents in a compassionate way versus blaming them. Then they will be more open. Talk about their emotions. How was your teenage years? What were the things you wanted to share but didn't share, right? So build the connection. I would always say when you have a connection, it will help.
Also, Samir sir, hello.
Yeah, just one thing that what ma'am said, I will just like to again emphasize, teach your parents. All the Gen Zs here, teach your parents and the society and the teachers that what you are going through, how you can have the connect with them.
My mother is a huge fan of Samir. Yes, sir. My mother is a huge fan of Samir sir, and she watches a lot of your content. And she said once that in our childhood, everything about mental health was related to positivity. And we were told you are supposed to be happy, you are supposed to be positive, you are supposed to work harder towards happiness. And the thing that changed in this generation is we are walking from a path where we express more. And we try to actually be happy instead of forcing ourselves to be happy. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, either ways, if we can find happiness, it's worth it.
Yes, sir.
Process से फर्क नहीं पड़ता, happiness destination हो जानी चाहिए बस.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir.
Good afternoon, dignitaries and all the audience. Myself, Prisha Sabnis. I'm doing my bachelor's degree in psychology currently. I'm having one question to Rosina, ma'am, that how to bring that emotional stability when we do the perspective towards our personal life and professional life.
See, there is no magic wand कि हमने घुमाया और हम ठीक हो गए या इमोशनल स्टेबिलिटी आ गई या रेजिलियंस आ गया. मैंने जैसे मेरे आंसर में बताया था, आई बीइंग अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट, a trainer, I took 2 years to come out of trauma. So if there's anything that is happening, it is important to bring to your own notice first. कि मेरे emotions, मुझे गुस्सा आया है. So understanding your own emotions first and then expressing to other people also. Making them also understand and then taking help. So this is a process. It's not an overnight thing or a magic thing, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for our panelists and our moderator? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to having you in the next sessions. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, moderator. Please.